Okay, I'm back again, and in this video I'm gonna start what I hope will be what I think might be a 5-part series, if it doesn't drag on longer than that, unless I have to continue with a new series, in a new multi-part series. But anyways, in this 5-part series, I'm gonna go over what I'm gonna call the transformation / living transformed. So, it's going to be so much to go over that it's literally going to take at least 5 videos, if not more, to go over everything. Because I have so much scripture documented, I have so much stuff. By the time this is all said and done, it's probably going to be somewhere around an hour and a half, 2 hours worth of content. If that, I mean, somewhere around, I could be a little bit wrong. It might just be at least an hour and a half. And if these videos are about 15 minutes each, so maybe about an hour to maybe a little bit over an hour to an hour and a half at the very latest. So, anyways, this video is going to be called The Keys to Transformation. And before I get into what those 3 keys are, I want to go over what I mean by the transformation. So, in short, what I mean by the transformation or living transformed is living Christ-like. Living like Christ. So, that's pretty much it. What I mean by that. I'm gonna go into more details later. Now, I guess I could kind of do a synopsis or something like a little sneak peek of the coming video. Kind of go into that a little bit. I'm gonna go over it in a little bit. The 3 keys. So, here we go. The 3 keys are the transformation are hunger, encounter, and awakening. That is, a hunger for God, an encounter with God, and an awakening to God. And by awakening, I mean your own personal revival. All 3 of these keys must go hand in hand. And I'm going to go over each of it in scripture, each individually. Each one of these keys will have its own individual video. And let's see if the other video about the final part, Christ-like, I'm gonna get into more, and then the final part I'm gonna go into what it means to be Christ-like, what it truly means, and I mean the deeper meaning of Christ-like, and the 5th part, and hopefully I won't have to spread it over get another 3-part video on top of that. So, I guess I could go ahead and read a little bit of scripture. Let's see. Dang it, I got the wrong scripture up here. Let's see, the scripture that I should have put on the very top. Okay, so the key scripture is Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove that you may prove what is that good. Okay. And I kind of messed up, so. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. And it has the word is in kind of what is it called, brackets or something. So notice it's talking about being transformed unto God. Also, what we're going to get into later is something else. Now notice that if you put this verse in context with the rest of the chapter, with the previous verse, and go on a few verses further, it's telling us the verse 1 tells us to present ourselves as an open sacrifice to God. Verse 2 tells us to not to be conformed to the image of this world, but be transformed into the image of Christ, basically. And then it goes on to talk about, and then it goes on to talk about was it 9? Some biblical gifts of the Spirit, which I'm going to go into in a lot of detail in a later video when I get to that, which I find an interesting placement. Incidentally, the word ministry in the Bible, when you look up the Greek word that is used in the New Testament, the word ministry means service. So, I guess I could read a couple of sample scriptures on what it means to be transformed. Let's see. So, you have hunger, encounter, and awakening. Let's see. In this right here, Romans 12:2 was one of the key scriptures. Let's see. It seems like there was one more scripture, one more verse in here somewhere about not being transformed. Okay, so maybe I just go to each one separately. Yeah. Let's go to hunger. So, John 6:35, where Jesus talking about being the bread of life. That's an example scripture for hunger and being hungry for Jesus, a hunger for God. A hunger for God will lead to an encounter with God, and an encounter with God should lead to an awakening with God or a personal revival, and it should be on a daily basis. They all must go together. You probably could experience each one individually. If you experience an awakening without hunger, then all you're going to get is a temporary drive, a temporary fix, if you will. It might kind of get you on fire for God to kind of for a little bit, but then it's going to fizzle out. And that is the point of personal revival. Nobody gets more on fire for God than somebody who just got saved, who just became a Christian. Well, almost nobody. And somehow, over time, the fire, fades away. We foolishly let the fire die. The fire, that passion that we once had for God. Now, there may be some people, some Christians who manage to keep that fire burning. But that cannot be easy. That is no way that is easy. And there are many Christians that we let the fire die, and I believe that fire can be relit. That is the reason I am making these videos. So I'm gonna give you an example scripture in Encounter. Let's see. Before I get into because I'm going to go into more detail and what I mean by encounter. Let's see. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who trusts in him. Psalms 34:8. So, that's scripture about an encounter with God. So if you're hungry for God, you can have an encounter with God. Hunger plus encounter. In fact, the hunger plus encounter plus awakening should reignite the flame in our hearts, that we let die out the passion that we had for God when we first got saved. We should have never let that fire die out. But I believe that we can get that fire, that passion back that we once had. And it's a daily choice. We have to make that choice on a daily basis to get that passion back. We should never let it die in the first place. I'm guilty myself. But I'm taking it back. I am claiming back the fire, the passion that I once had when I first got saved. I am not sure what happened. I am not sure how I allowed that fire to die. That is the point of this video, this 5-part video. So we gotta live Christ-like. We gotta live transformed. So that number one, in order to become transformed, we gotta let that fire reignite. And we have to recognize that Christianity is a supernatural lifestyle. And I don't know how we ended up with Christianity that hardly ever sees anything supernatural, and even denominations that don't even believe in the supernatural at all. So, anyways, and I have another example scripture for free on Encounter, Psalms 27:8. It said, when you said, seek my face, this is God talking, my heart said to you, your face, Lord, I will seek. The Hebrew word for face in that verse can also mean presence. Seeking the presence of God. That is the manifest presence of God. The manifest presence of God. Now, I'm not sure about the Old Testament, how much access they had to that. But now, today, we have the manifest presence of God, and ultimately intimacy with God, a relationship with God, an encounter with God through the manifest presence of God. Now, an example scripture about awakening, which is for the most part, it's going to be scripture about revival. And again, we need to have a personal revival daily, on a daily basis. So, let's see. And this is the scripture about awakening, where awakening is a personal revival. It does no good to go to a revival to temporarily light your flame, your passion, you're on fire for God for a season, for maybe a few days, or for a week, and then the fire fizzles out again. It dies down again. And that's the end of that. If you're going to go to a revival to get awakening, you have to keep that fire, that passion going. So, okay, I'm going to give Psalms 85:6. Will you not revive us again, that your people may rejoice in you? Or Psalms 23 verse 3. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Now let's focus on he restores my soul. That is a type of awakening, a revival, a supernatural experience. Okay, so I don't have time to go into much detail into that, but Psalms 23 contains a lot of promises. Oh wait, there's a little spider. Anyways, Psalms 23 contains a lot of promises of God, from God, that we should be experiencing right now. That we don't have to wait until we die to experience it. Which I don't have time to go into that right now. I might make another video about that later on. But Psalms 23 contains a lot of promises. If I remember right, I counted 9, 10. The hardest one to figure out through Bible study was verse 5. He sets he sets the table before us in the presence of our enemies. No, he prepares the table for us in the presence of our enemies. But anyways, that's it for this video. My next video, I'm going to go over in more detail hunger. Spiritual hunger is going to be the main focus of the next video. This video contains a kind of a synopsis, so a little bit of all three. So, once again, before I end the video, I'm going to repeat the 3 keys. Hunger for God, an encounter with God, and awakening to God. Those 3 together, working together on a daily basis, will help you become transformed and live a transformed lifestyle, operating in their supernatural gifts and doing what God has called you to do. So, that is it for this video. Bye.